So beneficiary and trustee are the same person? Not necessarily. So a beneficiary of a trust is an individual who's receiving some type of benefit under the trust. So it can be initially the person who creates the trust, and they get use of the trust income and principal during their lifetime, and they can live in any home that the trust owns, as an example, but they're receiving some type of benefit under the trust. And then the secondary or contingent beneficiaries are the individuals who receive some type of a benefit after the original beneficiaries pass away. So they might receive distribution under the trust of the assets of the trust. And this is typically done through percentage. So as an example, whatever's left, whatever the creator of the trust has left over after they pass away, that may go in certain percentages to beneficiaries. So the beneficiaries benefit from what is actually in the trust, and they get some type of a distribution of either a specific item or a share in whatever the assets are in the trust when it comes time for them to actually receive something under the trust. Whereas the trustee is the person who's responsible for managing the assets in the trust. So the trustee has to follow the direction that's in the trust and that was laid down by the original creator of the trust regarding what to do with the assets in the trust. They're responsible to safeguard those assets and distribute them properly as written under the trust document to the beneficiaries. So they need to act in the best interest of the beneficiaries. Oftentimes the trustee has the power and ability to invest and reinvest assets, to potentially sell real estate or rent it out, and other actions that are normally geared towards growing what's in the trust or helping the beneficiaries out in some way. And ultimately, the trustee is the person who's responsible to distribute the assets under the trust and in accordance with the trust agreement. Now, it's not uncommon that one of the beneficiaries could also be the trustee of the trust. We do see this often in family trust. There could be issues with that, especially when the trustee ultimately has to give an accounting of what goes on with the trust assets to the other beneficiaries. And sometimes in family situations, if it's one child who is chosen as the trustee, but you have several other children who are beneficiaries, including the child that's a trustee, that could create problems between the children. So you have to make sure that everything is very clearly laid out in the trust document. But that being said, you don't have to have a trustee who is also a beneficiary, and oftentimes that is preferred, so they can have more of an independent viewpoint, or they're sort of stepped back and really can take on the role to simply assess the entire situation and do what they're supposed to do under the trust, and most importantly, act in the best interest of all the beneficiaries involved rather than something that may be more in their best interest, which can happen sometimes when you have a beneficiary who's also the trustee. So I hope that answered the question. Beneficiaries, trustees, they're different designations under a trust. You can have somebody who is both a trustee and a beneficiary, but that's not necessarily the case. It just depends on how you set the trust up. So if you have more questions about trusts or estate planning or elder law in general, and you're in Florida, please contact my law firm atCause Law. The link is in my bio, and we're in Clearwater, Florida.